Thanks for being here. Shit. Now I'm back. Okay.
Bill, everyone is here that should be on the meeting.
Okay, great. So I guess we should just convene the meeting and get going.
Yeah.
So
I have a flag for Pledge of Allegiance.
Jerry's got a flag. Good man, Jerry. So I'll call the meeting to order, and should we start with a roll call?
Yes. Let's try it. Mr. Stanley.
Here.
Mr. Gromko.
Here.
Mr. Dobbs.
Here.
Mr. Nichols.
Here.
Mr. Pelletier. Mr. Pelletier.
There.
He's here.
On mute. He's on mute. He's on mute.
Okay.
Here.
Mr. Staduric.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum. Also on the meeting is Town Council Liaison David Bowery, Town Council Member Peter Talbot, who also works with Cox Communications. Assistant Town Manager Arnett Talbot is on the meeting. Riding shotgun with me is Catherine Donegan. Dawn Geit is also on the meeting, and the irrepressible Yetta Auger with President of Cheshire Chamber of Commerce is on the meeting as well.
Great. Terrific. So I guess we have a quorum. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
Under God,
liberty.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We do approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Have a motion on that?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Approval of the 2021 meeting dates. Anybody have a chance to look at them? It's the same schedule as we've been on.
Works for me. So moved.
Okay, move the minutes, move the meeting dates. That's David. We'll get a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Why don't we move right on into the discussion with Peter Talbot. Peter, again, thank you for being here. I think the reason why we initiated this was that early on, especially early on in this current pandemic, a lot of people were experiencing spooling and bandwidth issues, I guess. And so we wanted to talk to you about that, which in my experience anyway has gotten better. But it certainly seems like in the future, there's going to be a lot more working from home. And so these issues are probably not going away. And we're interested in what Cox has done about it and is planning to do.
Well, thanks for having me, Bill, and I appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, to say, the word unprecedented is certainly overused in 2020. So, and what we saw, starting mid-March, but we hit just to kind of put things in perspective for you a little bit, from April 1st until mid-May of 2020, that 6-week period, we saw nearly an 80% increase in utilization. That amount of utilization increase normally takes 3 years for us to realize. So what we saw in an incredibly short amount of time was, students schooling from home, people working from home, and obviously the Zoom meetings and a lot of virtual and streaming. So those were the issues that we were hit with in a very short time frame. So without getting too technical and into the architecture of our system, we're more circular. We have what are called nodes or pockets of customers that are usually in neighborhoods. In order to increase the bandwidth in those areas, what we do is we split the nodes to make them smaller. So instead of having, for example, 50 customers, you split it down to having only 25 customers that are being fed by the same amount of bandwidth. We did 90 of those node splits so far in 2020. That is double we normally do as part of business as usual. And we also have an additional 300 scheduled for 2021, which again will be like 6 times what we normally do. So the growth we saw was unprecedented. The amount of traffic we saw was unprecedented. A couple other quick things that we did, and this was throughout Cox's footprint in Connecticut. We have 3 franchises that we operate in the state. What we call the Meriden franchise, which is Meriden, Cheshire, and Southington, is one of those. We have Manchester and 5 towns in that area. And then we have the Enfield franchise, which is Enfield and 9 other towns right up along the Connecticut-Mass border. What we also did was we got involved in heavily promoting our Connect to Compete product, which is a low-cost internet product, which is available to free and reduced school lunch children throughout the state. When the state received their CARES Act money, the governor initiated a program called Everybody Learns, and Cox and other MSOs joined. And the state is actually picking up the tab for a lot of the Connect to Compete students that hadn't previously been connected, to make sure that homes are connected to the internet. And finally, the other thing that I'll tell you about is that once the pandemic started, Cox has, as part of the internet packages, has a data cap, or had a data cap. When the pandemic started, we eliminated that data cap so that people weren't being charged extra and going over their data allowances. The data cap was reinstituted at the end of the school year on July 1st, but the data cap has been increased from 1 terabyte per month to a terabyte, 1.25 terabytes per month, to make sure that people have the ability to do the streaming and the video that they need to both work and homeschool. So with that, be happy to take any questions and answer what I can.
You said you went up 80% in 6 weeks, basically, in the spring. Has that remained? Has that stayed pretty steady? Has it gone up, gone down?
No, it remained pretty steady, Bill. That was kind of the peak. It actually, if anything, it went down. We've seen a decrease too with Cheshire and Southington remained primarily remote, but Meriden and Cheshire did go back full, so that lessened some of the burden on the system. So it's actually gone down since May, if anything.
A lot, or?
Not significant, because there's so many people working from home. I don't have a percentage, but it certainly is nowhere near as high as what we saw April and May when it ramped up. It stayed pretty consistent at that level through, like I said, around July 1st, and we've seen a decrease since then.
Now, have those peaks been the same for residential? Certainly for residential customers. What about for commercial customers? Because there's 2 different, sets of accounts, right? One residential, one commercial for Cox. How has it been for the commercial side? And does the commercial side have elasticity to be able to increase or decrease their bandwidth in that process right now with the increase utilization in terms of the network?
Yeah, they're fed from the same system. So the node split will affect commercial as well as residential traffic. We do have higher speeds available to business customers, up to 10 gig for business.
Okay. Okay. And has there been any impact to information security at the residential or commercial level? Certainly, because, you know, overall since COVID, right, there's been a spike in attacks and, you know, denial of service and phishing attempts and so forth. So how has that affected Cox? Because I know Cox does a pretty good proactive service in protecting their customers with information security.
Yeah, we don't publicize it, and I can't get into a lot of those numbers, other than to say we did see an increase in some of that activity, and thankfully it was unsuccessful.
Perfect. Good.
Peter, do you foresee any expenses passed on to the end users in the near future?
I'm not sure where you're
Cost, consumer cost, our monthly cost for Cox's service. Do you see, due to the increase, will there be?
With regard to the increase? No. You know, there are routinely rate increases that the company takes, but nothing based on, you know, based on the utilization increase.
Okay.
Like I said,
I didn't know if your costs.
We're cognizant of, you know, what's happening out there. And that's why for the period of time we eliminated the data cap. So people weren't incurring expense because of the, you know, the additional utilization of the internet.
Got it.
So this node splitting that you're doing, Peter, is that all back office, or does it actually require you to go out and run new wire to provide additional capacity to these nodes?
It's actually physically crews going out and doing node splits and running the lines in, you know, a different pattern.
Okay. And just in general, you have a system with a bunch of wires and a bunch of people on it, and you can split nodes, I understand, but at some point you reach the capacity of your system, and how close are you to doing that?
We really don't, because you have the ability to keep splitting it off.
Okay.
So, you know, you can get down to, you know, theoretically a node that has one home on it. And then it's like having a direct link to the, you know, to the center, to the MTs, what we call the MTC, or the head end.
How much of this system is fiber optic, or is that something you're in the process of converting to?
Everything except to the home is fiber optic.
Oh.
We have fiber optic lines running everywhere at this point.
Okay. So you don't see, from our perspective, our thought process as we were experiencing this early on was, gee, if this turns out to be the trend of the future, people are working from home, people are doing more work from home and schooling from home, are we going to reach the capacity of the system? Is there going to be a problem down the road, and what's Cox doing about it? But it sounds like that's not really an issue.
No, it's like I said, you know, we had already thankfully gone to, and that's the case with the other ISPs or internet service providers, had already gone to gig speed networks. So we were already at pretty high speed when like I said, that 6-week time frame kicked in. And then it was just a matter of kind of readjusting the system to be able to handle the amount of traffic. But no, I think the other ISPs will tell you that we're very happy with the way the architecture and the system stood up, and has continued to maintain quality despite, you know, the ridiculous numbers that we were seeing at the very beginning of the pandemic.
So Peter, with that same sort of notion, right? Because most of the residential customers, unlike the business customers, right, they have it's shared bandwidth, right? So they go across how many users are in the system, for each specific node and their utilization, and then it spreads, to specific, bandwidth. So, how many of your customers are, for example, Gigablast out of the residential customers that can actually get sustained speeds, right? Especially now with Zoom video calls, right? And Google Classroom and so forth, right? And working from home versus those who may be in a lower tier. Do you see any degradation in service with the lower tiers, that their speeds may be, 10, 15 megabits instead of 200, 300 megabits? Has that been an impact?
It really hasn't. I mean, our lowest at this point is 25. And as a matter of fact, the Connect to Compete product that I talked about, was just increased up to a 50 meg product, to be able to handle students, doing video from home.
All right.
But we have not seen a degradation, and certainly on the high end, there's been no effect either.
All right.
Any other questions for Peter? Looks like we're in pretty good shape for the future then, Peter. That's what I'm taking away from this. Would you agree?
We are, and the architecture, it's all of the ISPs are very forward thinking. So we're at 10 gig now that we're offering, and we're already looking at offering 100 gigs. So, that's in the works next. In Connecticut is one of the top states for not only broadband speed, but for broadband availability, within probably the top 5 in the country. There are very few unserved areas in Connecticut.
Okay, that's good to know. If we don't have anything else for him, I think we can say thank you very much for coming, Peter. And if we have future questions, we'll certainly get in touch.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Good to see you, Bill. Jerry, thanks for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you very much.
See you in a little while, Peter, at the council meeting.
Yes, exactly. See you soon, David.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Peter.
You bet.
All right, so move on to speakers for future meetings. I know Jerry's got a little memo in here about the idea about maybe we ought to have, we've done a lot with Cheshire's open for business recently, but it might be worthwhile, Jerry's point is it might be worthwhile hearing from a couple of businesses directly about what's going on and what they think, if anything, we can help them. We're looking for suggestions on like maybe a restaurant and a small business that we would want to have participate in our next meeting for that purpose. Kind of opening the door to suggestions. Anybody got any thoughts?
Yeah, Yetta and I spoke today about some suggestions, and one was CJ Sparrows, John and Tara Miller. They own 2 businesses in town. Linda over at Main Street Cafe is very vocal, and I'm sure she has ideas. But if you have any others, let us know. I mean, we've done a lot. We've covered a lot of ground in a relatively short period of time, and been recognized for it. But we want to keep it going. The pandemic's going to be here for a while, quite a while longer, I think. And so if you have any ideas about who to bring in at the next meeting, please just pass them on to me, call me or email me, or, send it over to Yetta Auger as well.
Yeah, I mean, Yetta, I suppose you've probably got some thoughts on some small businesses that we might want to bring in.
Yeah, well, Jerry and I talked about that today, but definitely CJ Sparrows. That's a business that I know they're having a tough time.
Yeah,
and they own 2 businesses here in town. Linda also at Main Street Cafe. She does, she sells little gifts as well as her food, and I thought she has a good pulse on what's going on. So I thought would be 2 great a good person to start with.
Yeah, I think that makes great sense. And maybe a non-restaurant as well.
All those people are no shrinking violets. They'll let you know what they think. And if they have ideas, they'll let you know.
Okay. All right. So we'll pull that together for the next meeting then.
Okay.
And then, so next would be Jerry has pulled together a kind of a nice list of all the things that we've been working on, especially he and Yet have been working on.
All right. Let it go.
Open for business. And they're laid out pretty nicely in this memo. Jerry, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I'm just going to go through them quickly if you don't
Sure.
mind.
Go right ahead.
We did 8 videos. One was the introductory video that introduced the 7 other videos and the whole idea. And Bill was in on the videos, and Don Dobbs was there and helped. The whole idea was to shop local. They're here for you. Eat local. They support a lot of things in town, and without them, Cheshire wouldn't be Cheshire. The other thing we wanted to emphasize, and this came from Bill Stanley months and months ago, that it's safe, and we try to have that recognition. You can see it in the videos that it's safe to come out. And we really got we got a great response to these videos, and my thanks to Bizzuto's Media, Clem Kaczynskis in particular, who was just super to work with. So those videos were rolled out. We put 70 shop and eat local signs around town, brought to you by the Cheshire Chamber and the Economic Development Commission. A lot of those were picked up today because we want to save them, use them again, because the snow's coming and we don't want them to be trashed. The Visa gift cards, that ended up a home run of an idea, especially the second time around. The first time around netted about $500 in receipts, sales to Chester restaurants and eateries. That was the first time. The second time around, close to $2,000. So we really got a nice bounce off that. We're probably going to do it again just to help out the restaurants. Yetta, you want to talk about the Light Up Cheshire initiative?
Sure. Well, right now I have only 2 businesses participating in that, but those 2 businesses are excited. Park and Rec did the people's homes, and I think some of the businesses got confused as to who was doing homes and who was doing businesses. So I think some of them might have signed up with Park and Rec, but that's okay. I mean, the more lights, the better, and it doesn't really matter who they signed up with. I'm happy that they did.
Yeah, I'm going to add too that all these initiatives has been recognized by the state of Connecticut. Advanced CT reached out to me and us rather, and Yetta and I were on a Zoom call with economic development people from all over the state, and we showed the introductory video and we spoke to some of these initiatives. So, the recognition is there. We just want to keep the momentum going. The businesses need help, and the Chamber's been a really good partner in this whole thing all along, and we'll just continue on.
That's great, Jerry. It's all great. Okay, so let's move on to liaison reports. Dave, anything to report from?
Not too much. We were greatly appreciative of your video series. A lot of the council members had seen it and thought it was very helpful, and you figured prominently too, which was nice, Mr. Chairman. But it was a collaborative effort, and the scarecrows were really a nice effort. I know, as Yetta just said, the Park and Rec is having the trail. We went to 36 miles around on Sunday night. That just seems endless when you do the whole thing. But there's also the candles that one of the churches is doing. All of these feel good. It's great to be here. Keeps you local. Then you stop for something to take out to eat and all that kind of stuff is certainly helpful. But nothing really significant other than what Jerry is going to talk about later with the RWA.
Okay.
If I could just add, I think what David said was really important. When we did our survey and when we looked at the answers, sometimes it wasn't all about what people actually were doing, but what people were feeling. And I think that that's what hit the nail on the head with the videos, is it was a sense of community, that you can help your local businesses, every single person in the community. And what I saw after we showed those videos, if you went on Facebook, residents were saying, "Oh, I went to CJ Sparrow's tonight. You know, it was really great. You should go and support them too." Or, "I went out for pizza and, you know, you should support local." So it was actually, even with the eat local signs and shop local, it made people feel like they were part of the community and part of the effort to help businesses. And I think that's what we were going for. And it's much more of a feel than it is, anything else.
Yeah, and I'd like to add that the resident, you know, the effort not only has been appreciated by the business community, by the Cheshire residents too. And, you know, we've been hearing a lot about that. So we're just going to keep it going. We're going to keep it out there.
Very good, Jerry. And Yetta, thank you. I think that's all of our liaison reports, right? Yetta, I'm going to call that your liaison, your report from the chamber. So I guess we're going to move right on to Jerry's report then.
Yeah, let me go to a screen share, and hopefully I won't screw things up here. There we go.
All right.
Just bear with me for a minute. Nice signs, you have to admit, right?
You know what I think I'm going to do with those, Jerry, is I'm going to, those two that were in the package, I'm going to tape them into the left-hand side passenger window on my truck, so that as I'm driving around town, people can see them.
Nice, nice. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, back window.
Let me just want to report to you on some things. It's been a lot of things going on. Ball and Socket Arts, we finished phase 1 of the remediation a couple months ago. We applied, we submitted a pre-app to the Department of Economic and Community Development for a second round, and we were cleared to apply for another round of funding. The official announcement hasn't come out yet, but we're working on the grant. So when we do get the announcement, we'll be ready to roll. We already have estimates from Fuss and O'Neill, and we're working closely with Ball and Socket Arts. Bavano property, there's an interest in the Bavano property. And it has to do with another adult beverage company. So I don't know if it's going to pan out, but somebody's looking at that property to do a project, a business there. Reread books. If you really want to feel good during the holiday season, go over to read books at the Watch Factory. It's just a great organization, and you know, it's a good price for used books, and it's run by and in support of people with special needs. So if you're so inclined, go over there and support a great cause. We've been talking to Bizzuto's, and I'm not at liberty to tell you too much, but there's talk about possibility of an expansion here. We've already met with them once, and we'll continue to meet with them to try to accommodate whatever expansion plans they have in the offing. Kiss Cafe is no longer here. They're in a Watch Factory. It was just bad timing, the pandemic. The guy had some health issues, and he was just a really nice guy, and he had a good product. It just didn't work for him. But that space is being taken over by Anthony's Restaurant. It's an American cuisine restaurant. First time for the guy. He's going to run breakfast, lunch, and dinner out of the former Kiss Cafe space. He's going to be open 7 days a week. And I wish him well. He's going to be open anywhere from January to March, which is gutsy, but you know, that's what he told me. So that space will be taken over. David, if you're on the line, if you want to talk about the MOU with the Regional Water Authority, but I'll try to at least chip in from my perspective. After about a year's time of work, and I'm going to give David and Tim Slocum, and particularly the town manager, a lot of credit on this. We struck a deal which is in a memorandum of understanding with the Regional Water Authority, which speaks to the possibility of a town's participation in extension of water service to the north end of Cheshire. You know, the Water Authority was really good to work with. Their staff people, And you can read it, but it's conditional. It depends on certain things happening, and the town's interest is protected. But the town's going to participate. Eventually, Southington Water is going to be taken over by Regional Water, and once that happens, you're going to see some activities, especially extension of water mains up there. It's definitely a step in the right direction. CVS is planning a rapid COVID testing unit down at the South End facility on South Main Street. They need some approvals from the town, but this is going to be a 10-minute turnaround on the COVID testing. And I don't know when it's going to be open, but they're going to move the unit where they wanted to locate it in the first place. Didn't sit well with the property owner, but we worked that out. So you're going to see that happen. Naugatuck Valley Regional Profile. I want to direct your attention to that, particularly page 52. And you're going to see non-farm job employment in the 19 towns in the Naugatuck Valley region. I think, the commission, this commission and every commission before it should be proud. Cheshire has 16,800 jobs in it, and that's number 4 in the region, behind Waterbury, Shelton, and Bristol, which are much larger communities. And the job growth has been steady here over the years, and I think it's something every commissioner should be proud of, and you're part of that growth too. The blight ordinance, David Belleber and company are working on possible revisions to the blight ordinance. The state-owned land and interchange zone is slowly winding its way through the bureaucracy. At the state, COVID-19 has slowed that down. We're working on a conveyance of Birch Drive, and once that happens, we're going to see a map, and the property will be conveyed to the town. You're seeing activity down at the former Dragon Buffet property. There are plans right now before planning and zoning, and there hasn't been a lease signed, but don't be surprised of what's behind it is a major beverage company that is national chain, and you all know who it is, I believe, but I'm not at liberty to say because the lease hasn't been signed. But I think you'll probably know within a week's time the official word as to who it is. A lot of activity in town. I'm going to say all is good. It's not good because the business community is bending. We couple broke, but for the most part, there's a lot of bending going on. Some doing better than others, but the mission and the chamber are doing what we can to keep them going. That's my report.
Great, Jerry. Thanks. Can I ask you a question about that RWA?
Yeah, David, I don't know if you want to chip in, but feel free.
So does it, having read through it, that so Southington's going to provide the water to start, and then eventually the RWA may take it over, at which point?
Southington has an agreement to do that part of our service area. I say R as in RWA. They have the right to do that and have since around 1927. They couldn't necessarily handle that capacity with the pipes that are in there, so the replacement of the pipes necessitated a further enhancement of the agreement. And the Regional Water Authority, I think it's unprecedented actually to give away part of the service territory that the state mandates we have. We're allowed to do it, we just have never done that. We want to facilitate this happening, and if we had to bring the water from the edge of Johnson Avenue up and then go under the highway, it would be very, very expensive and not worthwhile for that project, and therefore it wouldn't happen. So the Water Authority is going to let Southington do it, but when we eventually do take over the pipes and then have to put pipes on the other side for that hopefully economic development that'll occur on the property the state is allowing us to try to sell, then we're looking to say, we normally don't do pipe with a risk. We normally only do it when there's a definite development. We're willing to take a little bit of a risk and expand up to there for that potential development if we can get kind of a tax break to help us out a little bit.
Yeah, the next step is, and this involves the town, it does involve the town, a development agreement. That would be between RWA, Southington, and the developer. And that's in progress right now.
So Southington's going to provide water to the existing proposed development and add some new pipes to make that happen. at this, whatever point in time, the state-owned land becomes, or starts being developed, that's when RWA will come in and bring pipes across the highway and pick up both the new development on the state-owned land plus the stuff that's already there.
Exactly.
And that's when the pilot kicks in.
Yes. And
Okay.
Southern
That's when the pilot
doesn't
kicks
have the
Pilot phase.
capacity if they were both developed fully. They're
Okay.
they're a little bit tight. They've got a lot of aquifers, and that's getting more tightly regulated as well. So,
Okay. Very good. Thank you. I don't think we have anything else, although at this point, I do want to make a special point to recognize Catherine Donegan. I think this is the last meeting to see her, and she has been a tremendous help. I've been on the commission for many years, and every month, everything comes out right on time. She makes sure we're going to be there. She gives us all the information. Very, very helpful. And we're very sorry to see you go, Catherine, but I know it's a well-deserved retirement. And thank you for all that you've done over the years. It's really appreciated.
And I thank you very much too. You can't see the smile on my face, but it's been a pleasure working with you all over the years.
Well, we'll
Thank
miss
you.
you, I'm sure. And then we hope you enjoy your well-deserved returement.
From Jerry.
She enjoyed working with the commission. She didn't particularly enjoy working with me.
Well, that's great. Very good.
Thank you.
Anything else we should be talking about, or are we done?
I have a quick question. Who's doing the apartment development across from Stop and Shop?
That would be John, John Mylone and Sheila, his wife.
Gotcha. And how
Nice
many?
project.
Yeah, how
Nice
many units is that going to be?
I'm not sure. I can't recall. I'm going to guess, but I'm going to be wrong. Probably 20 units, but I may be wrong. But
Okay.
they're nice units. I took a tour of them. They're all individual entrances. So in this day and age with the pandemic and things, they really thought it out. It's very, very nice. They're going to
That's
be
great.
high-end apartments.
Yeah,
High-end apartments.
it looks like a really nice project. I've been kind of watching it as I've been driving by. I think it's going to be great.
They're apartments, not condos?
Apartments.
Okay. Very good.
And happy holidays to everybody, you and your families. I wish you well, and thank you for everything during the year too.
Thank you, gentlemen.